The delay in this thing.
What you know about me? I seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? I done it all, just want it all. Oh, what you know about me? I seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me?
Oh man, hey everybody, you know what it is, you know what it is, you know what it is. It's your favorite podcast back again, More Than a Title, and this is episode 233. I need a horn for that. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Unfortunately, our main host Jared is out sick today, so our thoughts and prayers go out to him. He came back from vacation and unfortunately got a bad case of food poisoning. So he is recovering. So he sends his condolences out that he can't make it to the show, but we're gonna carry on without him. And Cuzzo, we got you. We're gonna keep the energy going and we're gonna keep everything going strong. And we got you, man. So with that being said, I'm your host that's going to start off this show, Chatty-O. You understand what I'm saying? I don't get the countdown because my guy ain't here. The synchronization is off, but we going to bring the energy. And of course, and look, see, I got the finger pointing down. I got my sister right here in the Hollywood Square right next to me, Nadesh, aka The Balance. What's good, Nadesh?
Oh, it's good. I'm still out here in Cali. I will be back next week, so don't you worry. I'm not sorry we left you because we coming back.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know how I felt about what you just said like that.
You'll be fine. Because you last episode, he's like, "Oh, you guys left me." No, we coming right back. So I'll be back next week, back in New York.
I feel like you did leave me. I feel like I did leave me, but how we like to start the show, ladies and gentlemen. G&T, grateful and thankful. So this episode of G&T is brought to you by Black At, right? We're gonna give this G&T to Black At. Yesterday, I went to another event, which was called The Greater Picture. I believe it's number 11, and the CEO of Black At, Peter, Osas, invited us down there. And I'm gonna tell you right now, man. Again, just another home run event. The people at out front, hosted the event, and it was no place else I'd rather be. You understand what I'm saying? Just again, roundtable discussions, people going there, not being bougie, networking, really connecting with each other, and just really doing what they had to do to make sure that everybody felt welcomed, that information was being disseminated properly, and connections were being made, man. Just another beautiful event, home run, star-studded panels. What can I say, man? It was just a beautiful event. So thank you to the Black At family, to Upfront Media and everybody for hosting the thing, and for Peter for inviting us out, man. We had a great time, man, G&T. And with that being said, before we do that, once again, please be aware that we are going to be visiting CultureCon.
Oh, yes.
Which is coming up, right? So we're shouting out CultureCon like Cuzzo did last week, and we're shouting out Black Week. Those are the next up and coming events that we will be at. So if you haven't gotten your tickets already, go ahead and get your tickets, and we'll see you guys there. And with that being said,
let's start the show.
Okay, so before my sis introduces our guest, you know how we like to start the show, right? For our first-time listeners, anybody just tuning in, More Than a Title is a show where we give back to the community. We invite guests to come on and tell their story through their lens, in their tone and their voice, right? No clickbait, no salaciousness, just the raw information that they want to give you guys so that you understand what success truly looks like. This guest is no different, and Nadesh is about to give her the intro that she needs, but I'm gonna say the word phenomenal. I'm gonna lead with phenomenal because we batting 100 over 100. You know what it is. We batting 100 over 100. So we got another phenomenal guest in the building. She's gonna give you her story. So get your recording devices ready, get your pen and pad ready, because we was already laughing behind stage. She's gonna drop some gems. Nadesh, take it away.
All right. Well, of course, on today's episode of More Than a Title, we have somebody who truly is shaping culture from behind the scenes and in front of it. My soror
Period.
Jael Harris is a powerhouse brand strategist and creative producer who helps underestimated founders turn bold ideas into brands that actually move the culture forward. She is the founder of More Media Co., a creative agency that not only develops brands, but also incubates them and builds long-term partnerships, especially for Black, brown, and purpose-driven businesses across cannabis, beauty, and lifestyle. Right now, Jael is serving as the head of brand and community at Mary in Maine, a Black woman-owned cannabis dispensary in Maryland, where she's been driving growth, expanding the recreational audience, and locking on strategic partnerships. While all of this, while navigating one of the toughest industries out there, girl, her work has caught the attention of Adobe, the Aspen Institute, and countless entrepreneurs who look to her as an example of how creativity can be a tool for visibility, ownership, and economic mobility. So, you might have seen her in the boardroom,
Boom.
killing it. You
Killing
might
it.
have also seen her in the community, killing it.
Of course. Of course.
But right now, you're going to see her on your favorite podcast, More Than a Title. Welcome, 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 my soul. We about to get into it.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
I like it. I like it.
And that is so funny. I love it. I appreciate y'all for the warm welcome. Thank you, Nadej, again for just connecting me with this group, and I'm excited to get into the conversation.
All right.
Well, listen, this is how we like to start it, JL. You know, we like to start it from the very beginning, right? Give our listeners a very quick overview of what young JL looks like, right? What was the things that shaped your psyche and your mentality growing up before we get to all the major accomplishments that, you know, you are today?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was just reflecting on this a couple of days ago on my Instagram story, because my mom called me and was like, "Hey, you posted something on Instagram about your story and didn't include this, and that." So I'm glad that we're starting here. I was born in Brooklyn, but raised from the time I was a tiny little baby in Guyana. So I grew up in Georgetown, Guyana until I was around 10 years old. I would come back and forth between the U.S. and Guyana. And so I really grew up with my culture, fully immersed in my culture. I went to school in Guyana. I, have family that's still there. My dad was still there. He was a hotelier. He owned a hotel, restaurant, catering service out there in Guyana. And, I grew up I had a wonderful life. I grew up privileged in Guyana. I enjoyed the beautiful tropical climate, and my dad was a business owner. My mom was living in the U.S. at the time because she was getting her degree. She was living the American dream, or trying to pursue the American dream here by getting her master's degree. And so I was raised by my grandmother. Around age 10, my mom moved us back to the United States, at which point, I had a single mom, and things were different. And I always tell myself that I'm privileged because I was able to have both experiences, right? I know what it's like to be able to have a driver. I know what it's like to have to take the bus for 3 hours. You know what I mean? So I had a very duplicitous kind of upbringing, which I am so grateful for, because it has given me perspective that I think a lot of people in this life do not have. And it makes me so grateful for everything that I have and have accomplished in a way that I think I would not have had if I had had either one of just those experiences in isolation. So that's a little bit about me.
That's a message.
Yeah.
Message.
That's the message. So let me ask you a question. So growing up in Guyana, right? Let's talk about that first before we get to the American part of your youth, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the key things that you would want the audience to know about life in Guyana and the challenges and the tribulations that one might face growing up in a country that might not be as developed as the United States?
Absolutely. Guyana is home of many hustlers. I always say that. It's a land of many waters and a home of many hustlers. That's what I always say. And I think there's just work ethic in the people of Guyana. There's also a very rich cultural history in the fact that Guyana is a place that has many different ethnic groups. We have, I believe it's 6 different ethnic groups. And so as a result of that, our culture is very much a combination of so many different things. I grew up eating roti and curry, and also lo mein and chow mein, you know what I mean? So and these are all things that we associate with Guyanese culture. We are known for having the best Caribbean Chinese food. If you ever go to Guyana, make sure you check out New Triving or any of the other Chinese food places. But that is really, it's really one of the only countries that has that unique blend where everyone shares everyone's culture. There's not like a silo of the culture. And I think it's so beautiful that that's all shared. The other part of growing up in Guyana is discipline and respect is so embedded in you at an early age. I know that, if I had not had that upbringing in Guyana, where when a teacher walked into a classroom, the entire room got up and said, "Good morning, miss," and said her name until they were told to sit down. When I came to America, I remember the first time I came, I had my first day of class. I went into the school and I'm in Brownsville, Brooklyn. Now, Brownsville, Brooklyn is not Guyana. It's very, very different. And I was just buttoned up and I had this very polished sense of self that and I stood up and I was like, "Good morning." And the entire class was looking at me like, "What the hell?"
They're like, "Who is this new girl and what is she doing?"
She had going on. And so I think those are probably the most foundational things when it comes to my upbringing in Guyana. It's just the culture, the hustle, and the respect, the discipline that is just embedded in you from an early age, in the school system, outside of the school system. Anybody on the street could parent you in Guyana. And I think that really gives you a different sense of accountability as an individual from a very early age, because you got to watch your back, because you don't know who's watching, who's calling, who's gonna call your grandmother and say, "I seen Jael doing this," and you don't want that call. So yeah, I think those are definitely the most impactful things.
I mean, we speak about this all the time, Nadej, about different cultures having these value systems of discipline. And I'm glad you said that, JL, because we talked about this before with the, the stigmatisms that they put on different cultures, right? And we speak about how certain cultures are very disciplined when it comes to education, when it comes to respect, when it comes to teaching their children fundamentals at a very young age, not coddling them like, "Listen, you're gonna have responsibilities, you're gonna get education, you're gonna have some type of work ethic at a very young age." And we see how that translates later on in life when they become adults versus the places that are very lackadaisical with that,
Yeah, and that's why I think most of my friends are first generation college students, first generation Americans. And the amount of achievement that I can brag on them and say that they have, I can definitely attribute to their upbringing in different countries. Not to say that American children are any less, equipped for life and, the way that they should navigate, but there is something special about having that additional cultural heritage that we carry that I think does just bleed into the way that we shape our community here and the way that we navigate. So it's real.
Yeah, no,
I like it.
I love it. My question now is, I want to stay here in this young age, because you mentioned that you were raised by your grandmother.
Yes.
In Guyana. What is that like, knowing your dad is there and your mom is in a whole nother country? How did that feel growing up?
It was I think, I probably haven't thought about that since I was a kid, honestly, because you move to a different country and you just are worried about fitting in and being here and being present in a way that doesn't feel like being present at the moment. It feels like struggle. But I think realizing now in this moment, oh, wow, I have not thought about that. It was a little bit hard. I know that we had my sister and I, so I have a younger sister that, I grew up with. I have several siblings, but my sister and I share the same mom and dad. And so we were raised together. And we shared a different, because we shared both contexts, we would come back and forth between the US and Guyana. We knew that we were American. So we knew that we were a little bit different, right? We would come back to Guyana from America over the summer, and we'd have Heelys and new toys and things that the other kids didn't necessarily have. And I will say it gave us a fake sense of superiority. I would speak for myself. I definitely feel, especially going to a private school, I had a fake sense of superiority. And this is all things in retrospect that you understand and, think about, but a fake sense of that. And it also was we knew that, we wanted to be in America, but we didn't know. I think we were associating being in America with all the nice things that America had to offer, when really it was that we wanted our mom. Like, really, it was my mom's in America. I want to go with my mom. I remember we would write her little notes and letters, and she would call us every day, like, to talk to us because she's our mom. And as I think about it now, I can't even imagine if my kids were in a different country, what I would be going through, like the emotional toll that takes, knowing that you have to pursue your dreams, but you have to, leave your kids to be able to achieve that. And it was hard. It was definitely hard. And, but we had a great life, and it distracted us enough from that to know that we were good. My dad would come bring the KFC. My grandma, was taking care of us. And, it didn't feel hard in the moment, but I know that there was a slight toll, and it probably just projected out in different ways.
Yeah, we speak about that a lot too, right? Yeah. We speak again, like the importance of family, the village, Jael, the village, right? A lot of us urban city kids are not fortunate enough to grow up with mother and father, right? Nadej and my cousin both share the similarities that their mother and fathers were in their lives. They're married and still are to this day. So they grew up having that type of experience. See that, you know what that was? That's Guyana. That's Guyana. That's your friends in Guyana trying to listen. When she comes back to the country, you get on your podcast over here. Don't try to interrupt what we're doing over here in the United States. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling y'all right now, if y'all play with this podcast,
raise up, gonna be trouble.
Gonna be trouble. Gonna be trouble. But so we speak about that all the time, right? Having the village, right?
Yeah.
When you're a child, you don't understand, like, oh, I'm with grandma and not my mom. I'm only with my dad. I'm only with one parent, but you don't realize, like, having another parent figure to step in and help is a jewel.
It makes all the difference.
Especially a grandparent, because she's now lived longer than your mom and your dad and has more experience than both, right? The backbone of most of these urban American families was the grandmother, right? The Southern grandmother, that one that had the discipline, that one that was like, no nonsense, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. Without that, I think a lot of us would have been very lost without those fundamental lessons that she taught you that you didn't even realize was so key until you grew up to, and became a younger woman. You know what I mean? So I just want to give a big, shout out to your family for stepping up and being that village, because it's super important, especially if one of the parents are out there doing what they have to do to try to make a better life for their children.
Absolutely. And she definitely did make a better life for us. Everything was a result. Every success that I have had is a result of her sacrifice. There is no doubt about it. There is 100% correlation. And my grandma knew that. And I think that showed up in the way that she held us accountable when we were in Guyana living with her, because it was like, I know what your mom's out there doing. You can't be doing nonsense. You better be getting straight A's. You better not be acting up on the playground. You better not be doing this thing, because I know what the sacrifice that's happening behind the scenes looks like. And I think that definitely translated in the way that she disciplined and parented us.
A screaming baby.
I would love for you to quickly touch on is there echo when you hear that? Okay.
Nah.
Okay. Just touch on that relationship you had with your sister, because you said, like, you both were going back and forth. So, like, did that make you guys feel closer together? Like, what was y'all's dynamic?
Very close. My sister and I used to share a bunk bed, and half the time I'll be down. I'm the clingy one in the relationship. She's watching, so I'm sure she will corroborate. Most of the time, I would be down on her bed or she'd be up on mine, and we were very close. I would do her hair. I kind of stepped in as, we're only 2 years apart, 18 months to be exact. And so it's not a huge age difference, but I definitely played the big sister role. And, I would do her hair. We would, just do everything together, literally. Like, we would be in all the different clubs together. We would do all the performances together. We were very big performance kids. We were the ones that, you could wave $1 over us and we'll start dancing right there and do a little custom song and dance in the background. So yeah, my sister and I are very close. Still are close. We talk almost every day. We have a group chat with a couple other our friends as well, that we just have now merged, like, our adult lives and our younger lives. And obviously life is different now. My sister's in the military. And, she is a really high achieving military professional. She went to West Point. She played rugby there. She was even, almost qualified for the Olympics. Like she's super talented. And she's also the complete opposite of me. She's very type A. I'm very type B. She's very structured. I'm very lax, So, and it's funny because you can get the exact same upbringing and just end up in two different places in life. But definitely it started out with understanding each other, and that fundamental context came from the fact that we grew up so close.
I like it. West Point. She's an Army officer.
Yes, yeah. She's actually she just took command of her. She just took command. She said, "Oh wait, hold on." She said she's in the comments. That's why I was trying to pull up the side by side screen. She is too funny. Let me pull up my
Hi,
side by
sister.
side. Yeah, she says she's in the comments, but yes, so she is. She just took command of her installation.
Tell her if she wants to comment on the show and she wants the comments to be seen, go to the YouTube. Comment on YouTube. The YouTube comments will come directly to the studio, and we can put her comments directly up on the screen, and you can interact with her like that. So if she can hear, if you can hear her, sister, go to the YouTube. If you want to make a comment, put the comment there. The comments will come straight to the studio, and we'll put them right up on the screen. And thank you for your service. You know, and the reason that I know that so quickly is because I'm a military person myself. I'm a Marine. Yeah, I'm a Marine. I did 5 years. My son is actually in the Army. He's in the ROTC program right now, and he's actually enlisted, but he's gonna transition over to officer. And my brother, that we was in the Marines together, I got him to go back to school when we got out, and he actually just retired I think it was a major in the Army. So a lot of military.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah. So she's not I don't think that she's the first military person in our family, but I think maybe number 2 and the first to kind of do the route that she's going. So yeah, it's been amazing to watch her journey as well.
Wow.
I like it.
So now I want to know the big trip to New York.
Over the pond.
Yes. When did it happen? What was the decision-making process where like your mom was like, all right, y'all are coming to Brooklyn and this is now home base?
So I think this is probably when my mom graduated from school. So I think it was time. I remember we were around 10 years old. I celebrated my 10th birthday that summer there. And one of the biggest things was we came up a couple months early. And this is, again, my mom's intentionality and the way that she parented us was just, 10 out of 10. And she brought us up a couple months early to do tests for different schools because she knew that we were bright. We had, both gotten super high achievements in Guyana at our schools there, knowing that that schooling system is a lot more rigorous than the U.S. schooling system. She knew that we would have done well in gifted programs. And so we came up a couple months early. We did tests for a bunch of different, top tier or, not private, but kind of like the public schools that have private level education schools. And she also leveraged her network as well to be able to get us into different interviews for different schools, things like that, different programs. So we came up, did about a month of just that, a marathon of just interviewing at schools, taking tests. And I remember the first test that I took was at the school called Scholars Academy in Rockaway Beach, where we lived. Mm-hmm. And they had a section called ELA. And I did great on the math section, and math is not even my strong suit. So that's like, I did good on the math section, and then they took us into a different room to do our ELA test. And I broke down because I didn't know what ELA stood for. We don't have ELA in Guyana. It's just English. But in America, it's English Language Arts, ELA. And so I think just the term itself just really threw me for a farce because I didn't know as a 10-year-old what I was looking at. And I remember being so frustrated, so confused, and I just broke down. And it's safe to say I didn't do that well on that one. Actually, I don't know. I got to ask my mom if we actually ended up getting into that school. But that was the first one. A couple months went by. We went back to Guyana. And then we got the call that we got into IS 392, which is a school for the gifted and talented in Brownsville, Brooklyn. That just so happened that my mom's stepmom, worked at the time as well. So she, gave my mom all the information to get us into that school. We did the test. We did well. And that was a school that was the Waverly School of Arts. So it had both, the academics, the gifted academics program, and the performing arts, which, like I said, my sister and I were into dance, music, film, all these things at a young age. And so it just worked out perfectly where, if we had went to Scholars Academy, the school where I broke down at, we would have been 5 minutes from my house in Far Rockaway. I probably would have never gotten out of Far Rockaway, because that's all I would have known. Ended up going to a school that was over an hour away in Brooklyn, in the hood in Brooklyn, met all different kinds of people. My first day of school, I met my best friend, who I'm still best friends with to this day. And she was crying on the first day. And I was like, my name's up to the J too. And we just became friends. That was so awkward. And, it was just from there, it was a difficult transition experience because, like I said, being a first generation being an immigrant in Brownsville, Brooklyn, wearing the not so cute shoes, having the longest uniform skirt because you didn't get the memo that it could be cute and cut, didn't have the latest Jordans, didn't have the latest clothes, the hair was in dookie braids or whatever the case may be, because you're not going to school to look cute, you're going to school to learn. It was a transition for sure. But I got the education I needed, and we're here.
I mean, listen, again, a testament to your mom right off the back, right?
Absolutely.
She could have put you in what we call zone schooling.
Yeah.
Zone schooling, very simple. The school that's closest to your house, or they have space for you, and you could have easily just did that. But she said no, right off the back. What you looked at it as, yeah, you might have broken down because you didn't, understood what that means, but you still were taking a specialized test to show that you are above what the average is already. See, so already she's setting you guys up for success.
Absolutely.
Right? She's setting you up for success, right? Because there's a lot of these specialized high schools around the city, right? Not only in Brooklyn, the Bronx and Queens and things of that nature that require these specialized tests, because they do that because they don't want problem children. Right. That's really what it is, right? They don't want problem children, right? They want children that are academically inept and that are doing what they got to do to better themselves, and they have these qualities that are going to benefit the school. Because remember, schools get money from their graduation rate, from their participation rate, from attendance, and all of these things, right? So again, that goes to show you where your mother's vision was for your success at a very young age. We're saying, listen, whether she failed or not, my daughters are going to take these specialized tests, and I'm going to give them the best opportunity to make something of themselves at a young age, whether they understand it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
what she instilled in us is, like I said, these are the lessons that made all the difference. So I
want to know, what's like a real piece of knowledge, like it could be your favorite, but what's something that really stuck with you that your mother has instilled in you?
The first thing that comes to mind is keep God first, but that's a given.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of another piece that always sticks with me. I think it's just the idea of like always putting my best foot forward. Like, one thing that my mom is, she's a lady that doesn't play about her appearance. She doesn't play about, oh, my sister just said one.
She's on point. I told you.
Big bird.
She's on point.
She said, I remember one day we were in the car driving to work, driving to school. And my mom burst out, books before boys, because boys bring babies.
Message.
Kept saying it. And I was just like, Mom, please, like, nobody is worried about that right now. But she kept saying it. And best believe, some boys took some really smart, beautiful girls that I knew out the game. And that made all the difference. Any young girls listening, let that be one of the lessons. The other lesson is, my mom always says, keep an open hand to give and to receive. What you put out into the world is always going to come back to you. Be a giving, generous person. My mom is so generous. And, that is something that I carry as well. Always, we don't have much, but we always give. And, just the idea, my mom will always say too, I just live good with people, which is a Guyanese, way of saying I always live good with people, for those Americans in the the chat. And that is so important. And basically what she's talking about is fostering and keeping relationships. When my mom lived here before we moved here, we lived in a basement. We lived in a basement apartment with one room, no windows, and she could have taken the frustration of the situation out on the world, and never did. And it brought so much natural favor to her as a result of just her navigating the world with grace and love and a peace that passes understanding, which comes from God, which is why she always says put God first. And, I remember she was sleeping on somebody's couch at a certain point. She was, living with different people, just to try to make things work while she was trying to get her education, because anyone who was here in the US, just born and raised here, knows what it is to be a struggling college student. So imagine not having anybody here, or not having that exact same support system. And so she leaned into her support system, created her support system, and nurtured her support system. And that support system shows up for her kids to this day. When it was time for me to get married last year, we didn't have to pay for so many things because people just showed out because of the love that my mom has shown them, their gratitude that she reciprocated because of their love and support. And everything just comes back to you. So it comes back. So you have to really steward what you put into the world, because you don't know what generation is going to impact. The grace and the things that you put out now, it may come for the next generation. You may not see it in your lifetime, but you will reap what you sow at some point.
Message.
That's what I'm saying. Listen,
you're killing me.
Yeah, no, listen. We talk about spirituality and religion on this show also, right? Because a lot of our guests come on and say the same thing. They use their spirituality as a basis,
right,
for how they conduct themselves and the morals of how they go out into the world. Excuse me 1 second. How they go out into the world and how they treat people, right? And the message that we send out to everybody is, if that's what you need to do the things that you do,
right,
do it. Excuse me, I don't know what.
That's because you smoking that hookah,
right? Yeah, it might be time, brother.
Oh, he about to come back with some fire. Ready? Unmute. Go. So you can't even. So while he gets himself together, let's talk about that, right? Keeping God first. I want to talk about, right, because you're an entrepreneur, those low moments when, like, you really got to put your faith in God. Like, tell us one of those moments and, how God got you through it.
Lord. So many moments. I remember that I would say the way that God has worked the most transformatively in my life is through other people. And my husband is one of the biggest representations of that. We were friends. We started off as friends, and we just support each other during the COVID-19 pandemic. A couple of our friends would just be on FaceTime all day, just co-working and talking, just kind of being each other's co-workers, because we all graduated and had no, real co-workers in the office. So we would just be co-working on the phone. And naturally, just, we're just talking about our goals and our futures, and those things naturally aligned as friends. And it just, one day, honestly, out of nowhere, developed into something more, to the point where we both have still sometimes be like, oh, how'd that happen? But it just happened. And one of the things that my husband did for me in that period between, friendship and us dating was making space for me to rest, making space for me to make time to feel like the world was not crashing down. And I was praying, I probably wasn't in my word like I needed to be, but I was praying, I was talking to God, and I was, asking for a way out of this situation where I was struggling as a fresh out of school business owner, trying to navigate the world. Got laid off of my, the first job that I had because of the pandemic, because I was working in production on, large sets for huge campaigns. And you can't have huge sets and big campaigns when you're going to have 20 people on, when COVID is happening. And so just navigating that was so hard. And he would be like, Jael, it's time to take the computer, turn it off. Let's go take a walk. He would say, let's go get sandwiches or make sandwiches and get in the car. We're going his little old beat up Honda from 2000, from like 1990 something, and go down to Fells Point at the wharf and just watch the boats come in, or just, sit by the water and just talk. And that, thinking back to it, like, that just had to be God, because I was experiencing more than burnout, way more than burnout at that point, because I had never even had the context of what it meant to make space for myself, or to rest. And same with, my line sister, Coral, my line sister, Daniela, my sister, these people that I support me every single day. It had to be God that put them in my life, because it had not been for them, it would be me, my intrusive thoughts, and an unclear vision. Because without people in your life, who do you have to bounce things off of? Who do you have to remind you that you are doing a good job, that you're making, you're making the moves that you always said you wanted to make, and actually allow you to check in on yourself without having to actually take the time to check in on yourself. Like, they do it for you first, and then you take the time after that. And so I would say that is definitely the way that God has showed up the most in my life, is people in my life. I brag on them daily. Everybody in my life. I am blessed to have many friends. A lot of people be like, I don't got nobody. My circle's so small. When I moved to Maryland, my husband's friends adopted me. Daisy, Nikki, Nicole, Dom, like, they all took me under their wing, and just kept me in this new environment where I didn't have any family or friends to lean on. And that has to be the number one way that God has moved in my life, is through the people that I know. I love it.
Wow. And what you just said, when God shows him through other people, like, that really makes me think of this saying, because I went to Catholic school. So my sophomore theology teacher, first day wrote on the board, "Why is God invisible?" And that was like, we all had to write a whole journal prompt about it, and took like half the class. And he simply said, "It is so you can see him in others, and others can see him in you."
Wow.
Right? And I know that side. I'll be forgetting too. Everybody makes mistakes. But I know Patty's probably going to bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up first. Having a partner. And I really want, and we can stay.
Good.
Yeah, you can stay here as long as you want. But I would really love for you to just talk about, having a partner in like how they contribute to your success, especially like we're very close in age.
Right.
This age, like this age,
we're all close in age.
No, we're not. You have salt and pepper.
Don't you dare hold me out that equation.
All right. Chadio is on one end of the spectrum. We're closer to the other side.
I'm screaming.
and our age range is like, it's a gambit of things going on. People having babies, people getting married, people are starting their next venture. People are like, I'm going to Japan. Like,
right.
Right. So
everybody's doing everything.
So I would love for you to talk about, right, finding that partner in success at this age, because I feel like, and I'll speak for myself, like right now I'm single. I know God has a plan for me, and my man, he gonna come, like, he will show up when it's time, because anyone I've talked to, any woman I've spoken to thus far has given me a wonderful story that really instills and makes me believe that. So I would love for you to just, talk on that, because, right, I think people who do want to have a partner need to hear that, and because like there is hope, it's the time is coming, but I think just hearing your experience is so beneficial.
I would say God gave me a partner when I stopped looking for a boyfriend. And
that's why I was here.
The girls are looking for boyfriends.
Shit.
The girls are even looking for husbands, right? But when you and I wasn't looking, I was at the point where I'd given up. And that's how I know it was God, because it just so happened that this relationship developed naturally. But what I will say is, it makes so much of the difference, because you don't want to burden you. I'm the friend that doesn't like to burden people with my things. And you don't want to burden the people that, choose to be in your life with everything that you have going on all the time. And so having a partner where they can actually see you, like like actually physically see you, see the way that you are moving, see what your habits look like, see the things that, and being an observer in your corner while also being in your corner is so important, because it's kind of like having a double you, but the one that can really tell you what's going on. Like, girl, do you know that you do this? Like, do you know that this is how you operate? And that has made so much difference in my life, because it also makes you responsible for someone else's, I don't want to say you're responsible for someone else's dream, but knowing that you play a part in someone else's dream and they play a part in yours just makes you so much more aware of the way that people, the way aware of everyone, not even the people that you care about, just everyone. Like, knowing that people have individual struggles, that people have tics and habits that they probably need to outgrow to be able to get to the level of success that they want to be at. It just makes you so much more aware, because you have that person as a reflection to you, letting you know what's going on. The love is great. Love is wonderful. Like, the romance is beautiful. I should say romance, because love is different, but the romance is great. But the real love is what is different, because when someone really loves you, they invest their time, their energy, the space, their money into making you the best version of yourself as humanly possible. And when you realize that, someone has bought into that, it just does something for your self-worth and your self-confidence. I think in terms of partnership, what I will say is, it really depends on the situation. My husband and I are very different people, but very similar at the same time. So he is very, I don't know, I can't remember the left brain, right brain thing, but I'm very creative in artsy, and he works in finance. But I also am a business owner, so I need to understand financials. And so he has taught me a lot about what it means to make tangible goals and realistic goals when it comes to the future of what I'm building in my company, when it comes to the way that I navigate more as a CEO versus a creative, like really asserting that part of me. He has also really taught me a lot about different things that I had never been exposed to, which has impacted my vision directly. And so about 2 years ago, I decided that my husband was working in the venture capital space, which is, for those of you guys who don't know what venture capital is, they essentially they invest in companies in exchange for equity in that company, and board seats and things of that nature. And so my husband hustled his way into venture capital. When we first started our relationship, we both were struggling and trying to figure out our lives, and he was like, I love this thing. I like this thing. I like helping people. I'm going to try this out. And so I went with him to all the little happy hours and the little events. And, as he was trying to do something that people have to go to years of business school to be able to get into, and he just hustled his way into it. And that taught me a lot about grit and the fact that anything that you want is yours and is possible. But it also exposed me to that world of things, which is, oh, wow, people buy into vision, right? And so that directly impacted my decision earlier this year, or end of last year, really, to say that I want to build More Media Co., my agency, into a creative venture studio. Because the work that I was doing was already that. I'm already investing my time into people's businesses. I always go above and beyond what the deliverable is at all times, right? Like, you could tell me you want a logo in this, and I'll build you a brand guide, because I know that that's what you actually need. And so because I had this nature of going above and beyond, which comes from my mom talking about being grateful, being giving and grateful, and living in good cahoots with people, I knew that element was built into what I was doing already. And so now what I really want to do is to create a creative venture studio where we can leverage our creative services at More Media Co. as a micro investment into small businesses, right? So you're just starting out, you need creative branding services. We believe in your vision. Instead of allowing you to charge, instead of charging you for the work that you need to get done because you probably can't afford it as a new business owner, we will invest our time in you in exchange for small percentages of, your company moving forward. So this is a concept that's still very much in the work, very early stage. But but it's something that I'm building. But again, I would not have ever understood the concept of what VC was had it not been for my husband and his partnership. So again, it's God moving through people to clarify the vision, to make the path more straight, to make the vision known and clear and set, so that you can be able to cement it and actually make it possible.
You gotta listen to him. You learn something.
You gotta listen to her. Y'all learn something. I told you. I told you to get your pen and pad ready. I told y'all. That's why we say the word phenomenal, because our guests be coming down and they be dropping gems on y'all. You know, my last thing about, you know, relationships that we often talk about, and I'm glad that you spoke about being Guyanese and then moving to America, right, is understanding cultures and how they view marriage itself, right? Because you're a young woman and okay, you're going through something, and you know, you might have found somebody that you said, okay, let's build something. But getting married at such a young age, some people would say, you might be too young to get married. You know what I mean? You haven't lived life enough yet. How did you know that this person was the one that made you feel confident enough to say, yes, we're gonna date, but not only are we gonna date at this young age, this is the man I want to spend the rest of my life with? And do you think that your cultural upbringing, understanding the dynamics of family and stuff like that, had a huge part to play in that decision?
You know, what I will say is this. I'll start at the end of your question and go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Because that's what triggered in my mind. My mom, so my husband and I, like I said, we started living together, which, you know, that is very much against our culture to live together before marriage. But it was COVID, and you know, I had went up to Maryland for a project, I stayed at his house for a little bit, and then I basically never left. That's essentially how our relationship started. I left and I came back, and it's kept coming back or whatever. But in long story short, I basically never left, and that was very much against everything that was in my cultural upbringing. And, you know, my mom at the time, we had moms and daughters sometimes have contentious relationships, and it was a little bit rough. And I think that she understood that I needed space, and, you know, our relationship got better as a result of that. But she also saw the development that the person that I was developing and turning into as a result of being around this person. And it just gave her the stamp. And so he came to my mom after about maybe a month or so of us living together during the pandemic, and said, you know, hey, I would really like your permission to, you know, Jael to move in with me, because, you know, at this point it's just already kind of happening, and I just want to kind of get your blessing. And my mom said, okay, you got a year. That's it. You have a year. And if you're not married within that year or engaged within that year, you can send her on back home. Because at that
no.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but mama, how don't you dare put time limits on this relationship? I'm sorry.
You said what she said.
What she said, and she was right, because an intentional man who knows what he wants, at the point where, you know, again, because we were friends before we got married,
right?
Before we got involved, it was also very intentional from the beginning, because we were like, there's no point in ruining our relation, our friendship, if this is not going to be a real thing. And so I think that we both knew from day one, yeah, we're not going nowhere, because we are really, really, really locked in. It was very different than any other relationship I've ever had in my life in that way, in that we just knew that we would have been in each other's lives regardless as friends. And so it just made sense, you know? So I think that was a big part of it as well. In terms of getting to the marriage piece, that was, you know, us coming together, being equally yoked, you know, our relationship with God, having conviction and saying yeah, we are living together before we're married. We probably need to figure out what we're doing and have a plan and always speak intentionally as it relates to our future and what we're building, you know, in terms of our careers as well. And all this was intertwined. And so that was very much the plan. We just we never, at first we didn't really say out loud, we're going to get married, but from the time we had our first kiss, it was yeah, we're probably going to get married now, because what other, honestly, at least in my head, I can't speak for him, but
I don't know your husband's name. Let's call him David. David, after the first kiss, you ready to get married? Come on, David.
Reversed it. Don't be pussy whip. Whip that pussy. Look, bang, 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 bang.
Oh, wait. When did we get this sound? Because that's new. That one,
that was the right one. I don't know.
That one may need to be retired.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
After the first kiss, Jesus. Now listen, we love it. We like to, you know, we don't like it to be too serious. You know, we like to, you know, laugh and joke about it. But the reality of the situation is that's an actual great way to start.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned you guys had spiritual foundation, religious foundation that you built upon. Again, you're building. Everything you said was building. So
Exactly.
hearing that story now, I would be like, yeah, absolutely. You guys fundamentally built it the right way to give your marriage the proper chance to be successful, right? And I think that that's just a wonderful thing, being intentional, right? You had the conversation. See, when Nadej is talking about these new generations and why the success rate of marriage in our culture is so low is because of the intentionality.
Right.
Plain and simple, right? A lot of the intentions when your mother says like stay away from boys because boys make babies is because the intention is not to have a long-term relationship with women, right? The intentions are to become intimate as soon as possible, and then whatever happens from that happens. Now, when you try to build something off of that, then a lot of times that's where you have the failure, right? But when you step in and say, hey man, we're friends, let's not ruin this, right? So if you're not serious, like let's get the elephant out the room now. Like this is not going to be that, this has to be this. And if you're not willing to build upon this, then let's just leave it alone. So I think congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
And I want to say sincerely, man, I wish you guys the best. We love to hear stories like this, right? Because it reinforces the fact that family is so important and partnership is so important in success. In today's times, you need somebody to lean on, right? And pour into and have somebody hold you up when you're weak, like you said, right? When you don't even have the energy to know what you need, your partner stepped in and said, yo, put that computer away. Let's go for a walk, right? He stepped in and seen what you needed and said, let me give her what she doesn't even know she needs in the moment, but I know she needs in this moment for success. So congratulations to David.
Thank you. He's watching. Russell is watching. Yeah, don't get me in trouble now.
No, never. Like I said, we love to hear that. We love to hear that. We love to hear that. Go ahead, Cut. I mean, guys.
I'm sorry, say that again.
No, I was saying thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, listen, I saw I was vicariously at your wedding through the Instagram. Y'all never been to a Guyanese wedding? Go to a Guyanese wedding.
I've never been to a Guyanese wedding. Is it more similar to like an Indian wedding, like very grandiose and like multiple days and stuff like that?
Well, so like I mentioned before with Guyana, there's multiple different cultures in Guyana. And so the Indo-Guyanese actually have just similar to Indian weddings, the multi-day celebration. The Afro-Guyanese, which I am, we have a night before the wedding called a kwekwe, which is, what's left over from our African, West African roots. And so it's similar to like an African traditional wedding, but it's more so a light version of that allows you to really get the life lessons from family members about everything to do with marriage down to everything. And so it's really fun. It's a super dope. I was like, if I'm gonna get married, if I do anything, I have to have a kwekwe. Like I just had to have a kwekwe. And like one of my favorite parts of the wedding because it just was like such a great tie to like our culture. You have like a person that leads it. That's like a leader in the community, in the Guyanese community that does it. So it was super fun. And all of Russell's American family came dressed in their African clothes, their West African garb, and they enjoyed it. So it was great. It was a really great cultural exchange. He's from Delaware, so it's very different.
Okay. My barber, Lee. If Lee, you watching? I'm gonna talk about you. He's Guyanese, and he showed me some pictures of a wedding. I've never been to one, but he showed me a picture because his family's Guyanese. He showed me a picture, some pictures of the wedding that like his family threw, and I was like, how much did that cost? I mean, we're talking about like some of the outfits that these people were wearing. I was like, it's no way that was cheap. You know what I mean? Just absolutely beautiful. A couple of days, like you said, of different celebrations and stuff like that. And really like what I loved about seeing something like that, like you said, was just so many family and friends coming together, right? Saying like, we are your village. Like, it's a statement, right? It's like you guys are getting married, but we're all getting married too, right? Because you're not going to walk this path alone, right? You said you're community leader, right? So a lot of religions, obviously, before they get married, they go talk to their spiritual advisor, right? Get some advice or do premarital counseling and things of that nature. Yeah. So I think again, that's just such a beautiful thing. everything that you've set up until this point, I don't know if you realize it, is you've had family backing you the entire way. Think about what you said. Every step of the way, every step of your success, you've had family and friends backing you, championing you, and holding you up. So, I mean, again, like I can't see this thing failing, man. You got too much of a support system. You know what I'm saying?
That's like I said, that is the definition of privilege in my book. You know, it's not money, it's not status, it's people. It's people that I can lean on and call on, and I will call and pray for me if I said I was going through something. And you know, it makes all the difference. And I know I keep saying that, but it makes all the difference.
No, listen, we got to keep hammering it home. You know, I got a question. So, most entrepreneurs normally do a certain amount of time in business, any type of field first, right? I understand COVID happened, but to kind of work for a couple of years, because again, you're fresh out of school and stuff like that, and then decide kind of like automatically, very quickly, I want to be a business owner. Can you just kind of walk us through that mindset? Because that's not something that most people will just automatically say, okay, I got fired, let me get another job. Let me put some resumes out there, right? Okay, I got fired, let me open up my own business and I'm gonna be my own boss. Like, can you walk us through that mindset and what helped you make that decision?
Well, I definitely was still applying to jobs during the entire time, but I'm not a person that's going to sit down and wait for something to happen for me, right? I'm a person that's going to get up and make something possible. And my mom, when I was telling you earlier about how my mom the other day reminded me about all the different entrepreneurial journeys that I've had, I've always been a hustler. So when we came to America, like I said, the situation was different. But even before we came to America, the situation was different, and I was still a hustler. We would take my mom, like I said, my dad owned a hotel and restaurant catering service, and we would get the pastries from the catering department and go and sell it in front of my church, like at like age 6, like age 7 or 8. Like we would, you know, anytime anywhere I could make $1 on my own that was mine, I was going to do it 100% of the time. Came to America. Went to school, and I sold cupcakes. I used to make cupcakes. Get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and bake a dozen or 2 dozen cupcakes to sell at school. Ice them and everything, make them cute. I'd be in Broadway Junction walking through with a big thing this big full of cupcakes, looking stupid. But like at the end of the day, I knew I was coming home with $24 every single day, which for a 12-year-old, that was something. You know what I mean? So I was just always, I'm gonna make $1 out of 15 cents every single time, period. That's just me. And so when it came time for COVID, I knew I had somewhere to live. I knew I had somewhere to lay my head. I didn't have to be in a crazy, insane survival mode where I had to go work an hourly job. And so that, again, privilege, acknowledging that privilege allowed me to say, okay, I'm stable right now. How can I thrive? And the only way to do that was to be bringing money in. And so I started my business in the back of one of my college classes. I was, a campus leader. I did a lot of advocacy on campus for Black students. We brought the first Black we brought Delta Sigma Theta to my campus. And I had this background of doing a lot of advocacy work, working closely with the administration to drive change for students. And I knew that grit that I had is meant to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? I was doing flyers as I was president of BSU, and I was doing flyers and I was doing different things on Canva for the different clubs on campus. And I also was a makeup artist when I was in college. So I was doing makeup. That was like my first business for real. I was doing makeup. I started doing makeup my senior year of high school because I wanted to get makeup and be able to buy makeup. And so every time I bought makeup, I would have to go do makeup to be able to get that little $40, $50 back. And it was just a thing where it was like, I'm balancing the books here. If I like nice things, I need to be able to afford nice things. And I was doing makeup, going back and forth between New York and school and all this stuff. And some great opportunities started coming my way. I actually did music. I did makeup on a Boogie music video before. I can't remember the song, but like that happened. Like so many dope things. I got published in a magazine for makeup artistry. And the opportunities were coming, and I had to look professional. I had to look the part. And I knew that I couldn't do that without having a good logo, strong branding. I had that from a very, just from observation, not really ever studying these things, knew that I needed that. And I began to I looked at myself and I said, listen, The Adobe Creative Cloud subscription is free for 1 month. You got 1 month to figure out how to make a logo, 1 month to figure out how to make all the assets you need. To just figure it out. So I got on YouTube University, and I just played in Illustrator, played in Photoshop, and did something. It was ugly as hell, but I did it, and it was consistent, and that's all I really cared about. People saw what I was doing. For my personal brand, it was like, can you make me a logo? Can you make me a this? And it just spitballed into something that just happened. And I was doing that even when I was working that first job. And they leveraged that skill that I had as well at that job, even though that wasn't necessarily like in my scope of work for that role. And I knew, I was like, okay, so if this company is doing stuff for Urban Outfitters, Victoria's Secret, Bulgari, and they're asking me to do design on, basic things, that means that they are comfortable putting my designs in front of Victoria's Secret, Urban Outfitters, and Bulgari. Do you see where I'm going with this? At that point, that reified the fact that, okay, I actually have some talent. If I continue to work at this, I can actually do something. I was throwing events. I was, always responding to life with spontaneity, which is, a big part of me is just I'm spontaneous. I'm chaotic. I just go with the flow on things. I move quickly. And all these different ventures, every idea that I had, I executed on it. I wanted to do a bar crawl for Galentine's. I did it and I promoted it, and like 50 to 100 people came out, and it was successful out of nowhere. Like I wanted to do a showcase with music creatives in New York. I did it. I promoted it. I designed the assets, and people came out. And it was all like these micro successes that made me feel more confident that I could go out on my own when it came time to not have many other options. I swore based on my resume and the internships that I had that I was going to graduate school making $70K a year. I swore up and down. Nobody could tell me I wasn't going to have that I wasn't going to be at the top, firms and all these different things. I wanted to be a lawyer at a certain point. And nobody could tell me that I was not going to have that job. And then I graduated and I did not have that job. I did not get the offers. I had a 2-page resume as a 17-year-old, as a 21-year-old, and could not get the jobs that I was applying for. And so I said, I have to make I'm screaming. I just knew I had to make a way. And so all that to say, all these smaller successes, but also the things that felt like failure, the not getting the job, the not getting the callbacks, the getting laid off, they kind of just equilibrium that like, girl, you have to just make something shake. And that's how I felt confident enough to just go out on my own and just start. And I haven't stopped.
Savage! I'm a savage! Oh!
Wow.
God damn, for real. Like I'm not putting no stigmatism on you, JL. I'm just saying. I'm saying, like, you got 10 jobs. Like,
it's
that's deep. But again, right? Again, like if you look at a lot of successful people that end up being entrepreneurs and went out on their own, their story doesn't start when they became the entrepreneur. The story started, like you said, when they were children.
Right.
You're not even realizing you wanted money. You like, yo, I want to be independent, but you don't really know what that means. You see, you don't know it. Well, you just know, listen, dad got the page. I'm going to get these cupcakes. I'm making $12. You don't know that's entrepreneurship right there. You don't know.
No idea.
It's what I'm saying. But you are practicing, right? They say, when they talk about like apprenticeships and stuff like that, right? Right now they say, you need to put in a minimum of 4,000 hours to master a thing, but it's really 10,000 hours. So if you think about when you started as a young child, from taking the cupcakes, selling the cupcakes, to now baking the cupcakes and doing these things, this is you putting in those hours without even realizing what you're doing.
Right.
You're putting in those hours and learning these skills at such an early age that when you became a young adult, you felt confident enough without realizing, oh shit, I feel confident because I put in 10,000 hours. I made flyers. I did this. I did that. Those micro successes are your apprenticeship towards you doing stepping out and being on your own. Absolutely.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's fire. Not that. How we do like this? Like this?
So you could do this one.
What's this one? What's this one?
Okay, so right. This is the little clap, but people also do this one because when you do this finger, this is actually sign language for the number 8. So you ate that.
Oh, see,
I didn't know that. I
he
was doing
definitely ate that.
Yeah.
So you ate that. That is too funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I just continue with that same level of hustle.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
I know you got something, sis. I just want to say again, Jael,
No,
like powerful story, man.
Thank you.
Powerful story.
Thank you.
This is why it's mandatory that we have guests like you on this show, because you're not young JL anymore, but there are still young JLs out there.
Absolutely.
And they need to hear this, and they need to see this, and they need to hear it repetitively, right? Because there's so much negativity out there saying that a thing can't be done, that we have to have guests like you come on and say, no, it can be done.
Yeah.
And you can look good doing it. You know what I'm saying, right?
No,
Period.
Right?
Period.
So now I want to know, because like, notice how we kind of go chronologically.
Yeah.
I want to get into like today, the business. How's the business going now? What are some, short-term goals? What are some long-term goals we have for, because it's more Media Co. So tell us more.
Ooh, the business is doing amazing. It's beyond my wildest dreams. And I'm just so grateful because success looks different on everybody, right? And there's so many other creatives that, I would look at 2 years ago and be like, oh, why can't I? This false sense of, I don't want to call it's not envy, but it's also not like it's rooted in envy. Honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, it's rooted in envy because you want what this person has or these people have, but your journey was never meant to look like theirs. You know what I mean? And there's just it feels almost supernatural the way that God has just shown me that my course was meant, like it was just meant to be charted in a different way. When I first started out, it was very much a lot of solopreneur hustling, me doing everything, trying to balance it all, still struggling with that. 2 days ago, I onboarded an operations associate to help us with the operations of the business. And my team is growing. I have, is it now 5? My God, like I can't even believe that. Like 5 amazing women. And when I say amazing, I mean, just not just in their crafts, but also just who they are as people, just loving, kind, very much having that heart of leadership and love that, I hope to embody every day. And the business is scaling, it's growing. We're getting clients that have bigger contracts. And so, I was pressed to get more clients to do more work. And God was actually like, yeah, I really want you to have like 2 clients and just do a lot of work for those 2 clients. You know what I mean? Like, had I been chasing what other people were doing, I would have 1,000 clients and 1,000 things to do, when my mind as a neurodivergent creative was never meant to sustain that. Someone who was more type A can definitely sustain that, but I was never meant to sustain that. And so for me, it was very much an accumulation of understanding myself and saying, Jael, like, yeah, you're not meant to have that journey, but also just God moving supernaturally to put people in my life that came to me and said, yeah, I can help you with this. I can do this for you. And that being the way that I was able to achieve the same level of success. So the business is doing great. We I don't know. I'm not really big on like going into financial stuff, but like, we're doing great. And, I think that there's just so much room to be able to make, I'm really motivated right now by making opportunity for my team. That's what I'm worried about. I get clients so that my team can get clients, that my team can have, additional things to add to their invoices at the end of the month. I was blessed enough to be able to leave my my first corporate, but second technical full-time job about 2 years ago, working at the Aspen Institute as a marketing communications associate, to transition over into full-time entrepreneurship that also felt kind of like full-time work with my client, Marion Main. The owner, Hope Wiseman, has been an amazing mentor to me, as well as just a great guiding, light in terms of being a successful Black entrepreneur, Black woman entrepreneur looks like. And she took me under her wing, allowed me the opportunity to lead marketing at her dispensary, her baby. And it has opened a door of opportunity for me that has just been so unfathomable. It has also expanded me to a whole new network. You know, where I live now, I came from being a girl that lived across the street from the projects in New York, and ended up now living in one of the richest Black counties in the country. Sorry. I live in PG County now, and period. And not to say that I live in a big mansion or anything like that, but just what I can see has just changed. You know what I mean? Like the proximity to Black wealth, to Black achievement is something that I think in New York, we don't really see that often. We see a lot of hood rich stuff. We see a lot of designer clothes and luxury lifestyle, but we don't really see what it means to live luxury as opposed to live in luxury, if that makes sense. So to live luxury means the ability to move freely, to to start businesses when you feel like it, to have a dream and a vision and be able to implement it almost immediately because you have the resources to be able to do so. But it also means having the right network who can be able to help you to build that dream with you. And that's something that I was never exposed to growing up in New York City, because like I said, we're all hustling, struggling to just make $1 and then put some good, nice clothes on and go to the club. It's just very different. And so that has definitely opened a whole new world of opportunity for me in the way that I think about my life, my legacy, what I want to leave behind, as opposed to just thinking about where my next check is coming from, So it's been a complete 180. It's been so many blessings that have come from left, right, and most importantly up there,
Right. Absolutely.
That is just, like I said, unfathomable. That's the word I come back to at the end of my response, is just unfathomable. So I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
I wanna just try to give you a little bit of a different insight. I know you said envious, right? But I think that we all have to get inspiration from somewhere, right? You are taking a journey, or you want to embark on a journey that maybe, let's say, at the pinnacle of what you've seen, your father was successful. Again, you don't know what true success looks like because you're looking at it from a child's lens, but as you're growing up, you can see people be successful and you say, I want to be successful, but you can pull inspiration from that, right? You can see somebody be successful and say, I like how they're doing a thing. I like what they're doing. And I would like to do something similar, right? So with that being said, if you could name one person that's an entrepreneur, right? That you could be like, that's the person I like, you know what I mean? Like, who's your biggest like inspiration entrepreneurial wise that you could look at that person and be like, that person is the bomb and I want to be like them, like, not, you know what I'm talking about, like not copy their every move, but you love what they embody and you love what they've built and the way that they have done it. Who would that be if you could name one person?
Two people that come to mind immediately: Emma Green and Bozoma St. John. And these are both that I always wanted to be my mentors, and like I need to figure out a plan to get them to be my mentors one day.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how to get them in the same room as them. I'm sure they're two people that everyone wants to be their mentor. I'm being honest, it's true. Like it's true. They're super famous people. But what I love about both of them is their tenacity to get what they want out of life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not what the world wants for them, not what they were slated to be able to accomplish or be able to do, but it's to get what they want out of life. And it has been so inspirational, especially Bozoma St. John, to see her navigate life the way that she has. She came to this country. I listened to her audiobook. I read her memoir, and she navigated the loss of her husband.
Yeah.
She navigated through, painful or a very difficult pregnancy as an adult while working and leading teams at some of the biggest companies that Netflix, Apple, being the reason that Beyonce did the Super Bowl, things like that. And one thing I love about her is that she doesn't stay nowhere much longer than she needs to be there. She is quick to pivot and to move to the next thing. And I think for someone like me who comes from a very like stability is everything background culturally, it's so important that women know that you don't have to stay at that job. You don't got to stay at that place. You don't have to stay in that position. You can get your butt up and go. And as long as it's no longer serving you, and that has been so inspirational for me. In terms of how she's done it, is just she did it her way, you know what I mean? And never keep the culture at the forefront of it as well. And then now, after doing all that, she's on Real Housewives of LA or Beverly Hills or whatever. And it's like you can do all the things that you want to do. You can be in entertainment, you can be in, be in the back end of marketing, you can do all the amazing things that you want to do in life and be taken seriously for them as long as you do them with excellence and move with grace and intentionality in this world. Emma Green, very similar thing. Hers, she has a story of struggle that she's now the director of Skims and Good American and all these amazing companies for her marketing acumen, her background, her business acumen and background. And that for me has just been like very eye-opening in terms of like what can be achieved for women that look like me.
And Nadej, I don't know if you was there, but and I didn't know you were gonna say that, JR. I promise you, I didn't know you were gonna say that. We actually just came back from Cannes, from the Festival of Creativity, and I got a chance to meet Bose. Right?
Wow.
I ended up being her bodyguard. So I want to just tell you really quickly, because you told this story, that she embodied everything that you just said. Right?
Yeah.
From the moment that she walked into the venue, she walks and carries herself with a certain poise that without opening her mouth at all, she commands attention.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because at first I wasn't paying attention, but everybody was just like, oh my God. And then I'm like, oh, that's the way she walks, the way she carries herself. But upon speaking to her, she has a very like softness that, again, if you don't know her and you see her on TV, you wouldn't expect this level of like softness. But we had a great conversation, and her energy is very infectious. I'm just telling you, right? I understand how she was able to do it her way, because her energy is very infectious. And I listened to her panel, and she speaks very well. She's a very intelligent woman who's very intentional with the moves and the decisions that she's making, right? And I think you guys share a lot of similarities, right? Yeah, you do. And like I said, so I had a chance to meet her, and like I said, her presence is very powerful. And we're gonna talk outside, back in the green room. But I have a direct connection that knows Bose, that brought her to the show. So we're gonna work those angles, and we're gonna see if we can put something together for you. So we'll work that. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, we'll work that for you. Yeah. I didn't know she was gonna say that, because when she said Bose, I was like, I'm not Bose. Like, what I'm saying?
Listen, gratitude is the attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's next for More Media Co?
Right.
I
want to start before I kind of getting into that. Before I get into that, something that I neglected to share in my earlier piece of my story that is important. I mentioned that my dad owned the hotel and the catering service in New York, and it was pretty in Guyana. It was very successful. The part I did not mention was when my dad passed away a couple years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago now. I can't even remember the exact year. He lost everything. Everything was. And what that meant was that the legacy that he had built left with him when he left the earth. And it has made me so intentional over these last few years, especially as I think about what am I leaving behind? What am I building? What am I building for? It's for my future kids. It's for the next generation and their kids, my kids' kids, because I know what it's like to have it and then to watch it slip through the cracks, And so what's next for More Media Co. is building something that lasts beyond myself. I know what it means to start off as a solopreneur. Now I have a team. The next step is to build teams for those teams, and teams for those teams, and to continue to scale the business in a way that is sustainable without me being at the head of it, because I want to be able to eventually enter an era where, I can step back, but also, I can think about the new ventures that I want to do as well. But to get there, and this is to answer your question, what's next for More Media Co., it means creating more aligned partnerships for my clients. It means tracking and generating better and stronger results for them. It also means taking the time to develop my team and staff and myself in a way that gives us that, that leg up to be able to be successful. We've already been implementing things like training on AI and the way that AI has changed the digital landscape as it relates to branding and marketing. And so right now we're heavy in that phase. How can we leverage these tools to both work through our internalized systems, but also to create greater impact for our clients who may not have the same budgets that these huge companies have to be able to do the big photo shoots, the big, fancy campaigns, right? How can we leverage those tools that are now democratizing marketing and branding for the people that look like us and serve us? It also looks like building out this creative venture studio concept that I spoke about earlier and getting greater clarity about the way that would work. We're currently thinking about, does it make sense to go the 501(c) route and figure out how we build out a foundation that does this work in the style that kind of mimics venture, teaches about venture, but really is just giving out and granting access to capital, as well as thinking about the way that we are improving the service experience on the agency side for clients. So how are we doing that and improving those processes? So very much I'm thinking heavily about how do we improve, how do we innovate, and how do we continue to push the culture forward in a way that we are finding and keeping clients that want to do dope stuff and do good for the community, do good for people. So that has really been the focus for the last couple of years for me. Actually, not even years, last couple of months. I think that is what I've been zeroing in on. And I'm just excited about what the future holds for me, my company, my team, and what we can accomplish together.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking.
This motherfucker don't miss.
She's good, ladies and gentlemen. I told you she's good. We said phenomenal at the beginning of the show.
You said it.
We said phenomenal. Let me ask you a question, Jael. We talk about the power of the village. Now that you have become a seasoned entrepreneur, right? Seasoned entrepreneur. You know what you're doing, right? You like, I got this, right? I told you that there are younger JLs out there, right? What are you doing actively to provide any type of mentorship to some of the younger JLs out there that are seeking to follow in your footsteps? Do you have any active mentorships now, or are you open to, if somebody, reached out to you and say, hey, I would love to mentor, could I be your mentee? What does that look like?
Yeah, I don't have anything that's like super active in terms of like a real mentorship program. I'll be honest about that. And I think it comes from a lot of imposter syndrome of feeling like I'm not equipped to do that yet. But what? I don't know. I don't know why I think that. I get illusion. I can acknowledge that it's not real and an illusion, but my door is always open. And I think what I do is I make myself and keep myself accessible to folks. I post like a regular person. I keep my inbox and DMs open. I respond to every comment. Like, I think just maintain that relatability for me is super important. It's the reason I brand myself as a chaotic creative girly and not buttoned up agency owner CEO. I think that making the pathway for people who have ADHD and other neurodivergent creatives to feel like they can achieve high levels of success because the world tells them that they can't, for me is a way of mentorship. And something really dope that happened today, literally today, is something that felt like reverse mentorship. Okay. Where an older woman who, has been in her career for a long time, has moved forward in her life, called me today and said, Jael, I am at a conference right now because I read your LinkedIn post 2 years ago. This is 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago now, where you said you volunteered to get in the room somewhere and it gave you a great opportunity because I had volunteered to go to a conference, to work a conference, just because I couldn't afford a ticket to go to the conference. And I ended up being on the board for that conference this last year. Wow. And just moments like that where it's just like people are seeing what I'm posting and getting real inspiration from it and taking action in their life. She called me like, this has impacted my life. I'm a 40-plus-year-old woman. And I was able to take that from you. Like, for me, that is my content creation. That is myself putting these messages into the world. But if you want to reach out to me, my email is open. I have it on my website where if someone wanted to, get mentorship from me, they could reach out to me. My name, Jael @moremediaco.com. Feel free to send me an email. All I will say is, be ready to work, because I was hungry when I wanted my mentors. So be ready to put in the pain, because I can't tell you nothing that I haven't done. You know what I'm saying? I can't advise you any way that I have not done. I won't advise you any way that I have not either been advised or had the real experience of. And so that would be my only caveat, is just be ready to move. And now I'm not saying you got to work for me, but be ready to really put in some work if you want to learn from somebody that worked their way to where they are.
That's a screaming baby.
Yeah.
That's a screaming baby.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So, Jael, we have come to the last question of the pod. My segment here called From the Saucer. The reason we call it that is because I believe that you should never pour from your cup. You should actually fill it up, let it runneth over, and that excess that is in your saucer is what you should pour into others. So if you could take, right?
This one?
That's good.
That's good. Go ahead. So if you could just take the opportunity to pour from your saucer into our audience, just some final pieces of wisdom you would like to share.
Take note of the temperature of your seasons. And when I say that, I mean, there's a lot that I feel like I missed out on in terms of real lessons and opportunities because I did not show up intentionally in those moments to feel what I needed to feel, to move the way that I needed to probably be moving, which was probably just most of the time slower, and to be present in a way that like didn't feel about the next moment. You know, does that make sense? Like if you're in the fall thinking about the winter, you over here putting on a bubble coat instead of putting on a sweater. Does that make sense? It's almost like you're over preparing, but you feel like you're preparing and over preparing, but you're missing the moment that you're in. You know what I mean? You're missing the opportunity to watch the leaves fall. You're missing the opportunity to watch the leaves turn from green to brown to orange. And in real life, what that translates to is you're missing the opportunity to observe your environment, to learn from people around you, to learn more about yourself because you're not being as present as you need to be. And so for me, it's being so hyper present in the season that you're in. And I'm still learning this. Something that, you know, my line sister Coral and now, you know, business partner has really instilled in me is like being present in the moment, not limiting the distractions, especially as a neurodivergent person. Limiting the distractions intentionally makes so much of an impact in the way that you are able to learn from what you're going through. You know what I mean? If you're going through something but you feel like you're worried about the next season, then you're not really understanding how to get through that season. When that season comes again, you won't know how to get through it. You'll be thinking about the next one and the next one, and it's a cycle that you don't break. And so I think for me, I think taking the temperature of where you are at that moment and looking at that and being like, I feel this, I have done this, that reflection period is so important. And I think in the way that I told my story today, it shows that, you know, if I had done that in more of these seasons, I would have even more knowledge to give than I do right now, because I could say all the things that people who saw me in those seasons would probably have to say about me. Like, yeah, she did that, but she probably should have been doing that too. Or she forgot she did this. They probably looked at it right now and said, oh yeah, but don't forget you did it. And when you are more reflective, you get the holistic view of what that season was in your life. So that would be my one word of wisdom from the saucer for the girlies, for the guys. Take the temperature of your season, be present, show up, give your best, give your all, and be yourself.
Message.
There it is. And I'm just gonna hold you accountable to that, JL, because again, if you listen to regurgitating your own story, we do it all the time. You've lived it. To you, it's not exciting because you're still, you know, your goal line keeps moving, you keep pushing. But that's what I said to you about mentorships. Your story is powerful. So live in the moment that you are who you are today. And just like that 40, if that 40-year-old person that's older than you said that you impacted them and they have more experience than you, then imagine the impact that you're having on the youth. So live in that, right? And understand that in this moment, you are enough. You are enough. And you've done enough to give, you've been done enough to give back, because you can always give back, right? So we're just going to challenge you to live by your own words, right? Live in your moments, right? And understand that you are enough and you've done enough, and there is a lot of value in your story. And again, our culture, we need to see it, we need to hear it, right? Repeatedly, so that we understand that this can be possible. See, phenomenal. 100, ladies and gentlemen.
What you need to do is you need to make that phenomenal and make that one of the reactions instead of one of the So the message needs to be used because you have an animated enough personality where you can have your own.
YouTube loves it. So, guys, sis, go ahead and do the honors, man. Go ahead.
My Sora, you already my sister, but now you a sister on this amazing show, More Than a Title. Welcome, welcome to the More Than a Title family.
Yeah, we're clapping up for that. Yeah, welcome to the family.
So when you are a part of this family, there are certain things you get to have because you with us now.
Oh, period.
First thing, one of those things is if there is anybody who has been on the show in the past and will be on the show in the future that you want to make a connection with, we will do that. How that works is, right, you hit us up. We'll have a group chat. Right after the show, I'll make a group chat with all 4 of us. You let us know, hey, I would love to connect with such and such. We'll reach out to such and such and get y'all on a Zoom. Why? Because you're already vetted to be on the show, so we know it's all good in this hood. We'll put y'all on a Zoom, introduce A to B, B to A. We hop off the call, handle y'all business, get what you need to get. That is our way we get back to the community. That's how we show that we want to build. We want to build each other up. We want to see our people succeed, and this is how we do it.
Awesome.
What's the next thing? I forgot. I got excited.
And I just want to, before we go to part 2, I want you to take that seriously because, again, we spoke about. Again, I didn't know you were going to say Bose, right? And for ladies and gentlemen, just so y'all know, we always carry receipts. There go your boy right there in cans with Bose right there. Yes, I'm fly. She fly. We was matching each other's fly. You see us out there in cans. Yeah, period, right? So again, right, I didn't even know you were going to say that. So please take us up on our offer, right? We are now a part of your village. We want to continue showing you that the village is what helps us win collectively, right? So like I said, we are going to reach out to the powers that be, and we're going to try to make that connection for you because we already vetted you, right? And again, you don't need to be in the same industry, but you have a like mindset of winning and giving back. And that's what we're promoting on this show. So that's the first part, right? So any guest that came on before you, because you are episode 233, and any guest that will now come on after you, you still have access to, right? All it takes is a text message and we're there, right? That's part 1. Part 2, if you're doing anything, any type of an event, and you want the More Than a Title support, even if you just want to come back on the show and say, hey guys, I got a great event coming or something I would love to promote on the show, this is now your show, right? We don't ask permission. We own the IP, right? All we do is check your scheduling. We'll get the scheduling right, and you can come right back on. We've had many guests come on twice and 3 times and drop groundbreaking deals that they just got on the show because, again, that's what this platform was built to do, right? So again, you have this platform at your disposal now. If you're doing an event and you want us to be present, we just came back from Maryland a couple times working with CIAA and the people out there. So we have a great relationship with them. If you're ever in New York, right, and you just want to grab a burger or something, and you just want to meet us in person because we get crazy in person, right? Let us know. We link up with our guests because this is not a transactional experience. What we're saying to you is, yes, we just met you, but we want to build with you and we want to be a part of your village moving forward. So welcome to the More Than a Title family.
Yes. Thank you so much.
That's what it is.
2026. I'll be back to promote that very, very soon as soon as I build it up.
There it is. See?
I ain't hear that part.
Build a brand workshop. I'm doing my first workshop, creative conference. And I don't know, I'm still working on whether it's going to be big or be small, but I will let y'all be the first to know.
See, there it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. So, listen. So with that being said, I don't know what's going on with the electronics nowadays, but with that being said, we're going to end off the show the same way we end off the show every single time. We're going to recap. So listen, this young woman came on and she told you that she was born in another country, but she had fundamentals, she had foundation. She did what she had to do, and then she came to America. And even though she might not have fit in to our society, she still carried her structure and her foundation to say, I know I'm going to do a thing, right? listen, a lot of times, like she said, we get caught up in the things that are shiny, right? Jordans, sneakers, jewelry, all the things that look good in the moment, but don't help fundamentally build us into productive adults later on in life, right? So she fought through that, right? Listen, she told you she sold cupcakes. She baked cupcakes. You understand? She did graphic design. You understand what I'm saying? She had a job and had a job, and her job had a job, and her job had a job. You know what I'm saying? And she gonna work because you're not gonna tell her no. And she was determined to get what she wanted, right? She faced the crisis that we all faced with the COVID pandemic, and through the pandemic, a tragedy where a lot of people lost their lives, she found the love of her life. And through her spirituality and again, her foundation, her village, she was able to build upon that and end up becoming a wife, right? And started to build her family for the future, right? She then became an entrepreneur, and she's telling you that, listen, my job is to not only do for me, but to do for the people around me, right? I'm pouring into me and I'm pouring into myself, and I'm not going to stop. She gave you her email. Ladies and gentlemen, if you reach out, we say it all the time, be respectful, right? If you want a mentorship, you want to, she's a CEO, she's a businesswoman, give her time to respond. Please reach out with respect, right? On any social media platform or email, give her time to respond. And she already told you she will respond. This woman is a go-getter since a child. She's not going to stop, which reiterates what we say to end the show every single time. The dream is free.
But the hustle sold separately. Y'all have a good night.
It's your favorite podcast. We told you phenomenal. We batting 100 over 100. We see y'all next week. More than the title. Peace.
What you know about me? Seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? I done it all, just want it all. Oh, what you know about me? I seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me?
Thank you.
Hi, Russell.